No, a medal or a belt?
Oh, metal.
A medal.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, gold only.
Gold medal.
Only.
Favorite crew? Favorite breaking crew?
Full force.
We go way back.
Full force crew, the greatest of all time.
Oh, man. Hey, you're going to be hosting our 30-year anniversary. And that's also the anniversary of when we first met you. Isn't that wild?
That's right.
We met you the first year that we started the crew.
30 years.
Full circle.
Yeah.
So what's up, everyone? I'm B-Boy Ronnie. Welcome to District Talks, a podcast where we're going to be discussing the evolution of breaking with some of my good friends who have made an impact in the breaking scene. In today's episode, I have a very special guest. He is an icon in the game, the one and only Ivan. What's up, Ivan? The urban action figure. How you doing, bro? Fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people know our history and the rich history that we had growing up together, bro. I've known you for close to 30 years now. 1995 is when I met you. Wow. Could you believe that?
I don't know. It flew by.
It flew by?
It flew by.
Do you remember when we met?
I remember it was a long time ago.
So how did you get your name, Urban Action Figure?
Well, it had several nicknames, growing up. And, people always told me, like, you're on the microphone, you're singing, you're dancing, and then there comes a community event, and all of a sudden I'm like doing whatever the style of music it is. So they were like, you just transform into whatever the energy is and the vibe is in the room, whether it's, like party rocking, celebrating, trendy dancing, or just kind of like getting the dance party going, dancing with people, or just being social. And then when it came to like dancing in general, they were like, oh, and you have some moves, or if it goes to like breaking, you're breaking. If it goes to another style of music, you're doing that, you're popping, you're doing everything, house and grooving, moving, and people just didn't know how to like, single that out or categorize that. So they're like, man, you're just action packed, or, you're like this action figure. And it kind of started making sense. It started kind of, collaging itself to like, you're not just a person in the place or on, you're literally like moving, you're physically doing it. You're DJing, you're, making sure everybody's having a good time. And for me, I just grew up that way. My family that's just what we did. We like to entertain and host, events at the house. And I kind of learned a little bit of everything from my brothers and my mom and dad. And then, they're like, yeah, but you're like the youngest of 7 brothers. Now Whoa. You're like learning everything and you're constantly moving, and we got to keep up with you. So a lot of those names kind of just stuck, and Urban Action Figure was just like the, everything under that umbrella, like he's doing it, So that's what that was. It had less to do with like a dance style. Mm-hmm. Had to do a lot more with my personality.
Right.
And just showing up and showing out and bugging out and having fun. And that's really
Did your brothers get you into breaking?
Originally they did, but I didn't understand it because we were popping, locking, West Coast, breaking, rocking East Coast. So on the West Coast, it was more of like social dancing, So the robot movement was the first thing that kind of struck my eye. So I was trying to do that for fun. And then for some reason, like Beach Street came out, and we're at the drive-in, and we were like, wow, okay, it's a whole culture. We see it. We saw art and moves and like pictures on trains. Mm-hmm. So we knew there was like an upside down and some style, besides the folded arms, the attitude stuff. So it was kind of cool, the fashion that we would see on trains that would go from, all over the country. So we're like, oh yeah, there's something there. But it was strictly more social dancing and popping, robotics. Wow. Yeah, Soul Train.
And you were going to clubs a lot back then too, right?
Well, yeah, here we go with the youngest of 7 brothers. It was like I'm not old enough to get into some of these places, so that just says my age. Whether I'm little or just look really young, you can't just like walk with the crowd. But being that my brothers were known as DJs in a sense, I would just walk in with them, or carry a crate of records, or kind of just be part of the staff. And then eventually, when I started going to clubs, I would just like try to like get their IDs and do the
So your brothers were really immersed into the hip hop culture. They were DJs too.
Yes,
and rappers.
Yes, but they were into sports. They were into everything: community, sports, art, music. I mean, our legacy spans like over. I mean, if you trace it back to over 500 years of like athletes and singers and artists. Obviously, everybody's connected some way somehow, but this is like we have a lot of legacy in that department. So we're like, yeah.
You guys are just built differently.
Yeah, we just feel it, When you feel it, you feel it. And whether it's yours, whether you created it or not, you still want to like contribute to it. So hip hop culture was like awkward for a while because we're like, yeah, well, it makes sense, but we're not just doing what we understand it to be. We didn't make it up. So we're just paying tribute back to it by investing some time and energy and creating, a platform for it in our community. But there's other cultures that were part of that. It wasn't just like what they call hip hop.
What city was this that you were living in?
At the time, Modesto, California.
Was there already a scene out there when you started?
There was. But my brothers were more in that scene than I was, So I can't speak for them, but I could tell you that like anytime they were exposed to something, and excited about it, they would bring it to the house and be like, yeah, this is what they're doing, or this is what's going on, or this is what's happening. And then we started seeing flyers like from the Bay Area. A cousin of ours had brought a flyer, and it was like, wow, this looks like, like something different and specific to what they called, hip hop at the time, more of a graffitied out type of flyer, So I was like, yeah, well, there's something here, but we were still doing our own thing as far.
You guys used to perform together as a family, right? It was like a family affair. You guys are always just.
Yep. My mom, when I saw my mom hosting events,
Your mom was hosting.
She was the one. All right, this is what we're gonna do.
It was like a Jackson 5 family.
Yeah. Well, so my mom's always singing in the kitchen, cooking,
Whoa.
and around the house, and we'd get together, all of us, and just sit down and just cool out, and someone would play the guitar. We'd all start singing together.
That's beautiful.
And so that's before hip hop. That's why I said, like, I have nothing to do with hip hop other than to say, hey, I like what's going on. Let me contribute to it. But I never claimed to be the original anything. You know what I mean? It's just that's an East Coast thing.
So you were living that lifestyle on the West Coast already. You were already
it was a
performing.
Cultural. It's total family musical. Had nothing to do with all of that. But obviously the impact that it had on the world. It's like, if you don't know what hip hop is, you're lost. You gotta like learn it. You gotta understand it. We see the magazines. We see a lot of the fashion from the punk rock era to the soulful, more musically inclined era. And then once you study it, started getting deeper. Like, okay, James Brown, the breakbeat, 1964. Like, well, wait, the breakbeat, where did that come from? And then you start learning about gospel music and start learning about how, James was, he was like, yo, I need everybody to jump on this track, but we need a steady beat. That's the break that everybody could come in, instruments, singers. And when it gets that deep, then it becomes like, okay, so it's not a trend. It's not, something you just kind of like do, and then then you move on from it. You
got to experience the eras, right? Different music genres.
Yeah, well, that we were always curious. We're musicians being inspired by other music or other styles, and we're like buying the records, or and my dad was already making, one of the records he made was in 1977, I believe, and
Your dad was producing
my
music.
dad,
Your mom was a singer.
It was more of a rock record.
And all your brothers were dancers.
Yeah, but that question isn't like, oh, they all just dance. It was more like, we're athletes, we're dancers, and we're artists. So it's not like we just danced and then we became good basketball players. It's not like that. It's more like we're just in the neighborhood doing it all and participating, but really like, expressing like,
You were born into it. You're born into it's all you knew.
Yeah.
You were telling me a story about meeting Tupac at a club with your brothers.
Well, at the time, a lot of people were coming in and out of the Bay Area. And some people would have charisma. Some people just kind of got along with everybody. And some people, it was like a love-hate thing or a jealous type thing. So when we see people like Money B dancing, which he's from Digital Underground.
And
then they're just dancing in the club. It's not.
So this is before he blew up, right?
This is like late 80s, right before that 89, 90 mark. But for us, it was like 91, 92. Like
he was still with Digital Underground.
Yeah, but Digital Underground, we're talking about like in the clubs.
Right.
We don't know who they were. We didn't know they were, they had a group, or even Sway and Tech when we see them in the Bay Area. It was like, well, we know they would come to Modesto and perform one of their records, and we're like, yeah, cool. And then we'd meet some other dance, some dance people that were dancing for them, and it's a small world. But I'm saying between like 85 and 88, that's golden era. Mm-hmm. And then people call the golden era 92 to 90. And I'm like, yeah, maybe. Yeah. But
so your golden era was the late 80s, yeah.
Well, I'm just saying like
that's when it was really.
It's just a lot of happiness going on. It's not like people are like, it's like you could stay in the neighborhood, you could get caught up, things you could get all, in tomorrow, or you could celebrate and have fun and, stay creative and express yourself. And there's those platforms, and that made everybody just keep going. So meeting people that kind of like were having fun and then them becoming artists and, rising or future stars, you know what I mean? That's always interesting to people, because they're like, wait a minute, how'd you meet these people if they're already blown? I'm like, well, before that, we just ran into them. I don't know if they're, famous or not.
Right.
And they just remember us and we remember them. By the time I got to Vegas, I would see, Tupac, and he'd be like, Ivan, what up? So I was like, all right, cool. I'd see him at a club in Vegas, and he remembers me from back then. So these are just little moments. They're just like, it wasn't like we're hanging out. Mm-hmm. It was just like they remember us, we remember them. Sway and Tech remembers that era, and we remember them, and that's that. Octaviano obviously used to dance as well for in the Bay Area, and there was other dance. Also, like, writers and different element artists that, were dancers before they were MCs, before they were rappers, or just in the making,
Who were some of your favorite breakers when you were coming up?
Well, Frosty Freeze is like the ultimate. Like when I saw Frosty, I was like, yeah.
He had the charisma, right?
Yeah, he just made sense when I watched him. It wasn't so concentrated. It was liberating. It was unified. I could connect. I can understand like the vibe, how he moved and how he was like just flowing. And I was like, yeah, well, that makes sense. That's natural.
Did you know him personally?
No.
Never. Did you ever meet him?
A few times.
Yeah,
a few times. Yeah, and that's just like living in New York for whatever years. It was the ultimate like live and learn experience, because that's like, there goes.
You lived in New York.
Freeze, yeah.
So you got to experience.
There goes. Yeah, it was exciting. You
got to experience the true essence of the hip hop culture being out there.
Yeah. And then a lot of the people that knew other people, they were like, yeah, this is, Africa, Islam's, this and that. No, this is this person from, and I'm like, oh, that's the guy who produced Ice-T's record back in the 80s. And this is, so all of these conversations, tracing back, I was like, okay, that's Just Ice. Okay. And then this is the producer, and this is, so all of those moments just kind of like, the common thread would just be like, like that's, we remember that, or we own that record, or we remember, promoting it. Like, this group's coming into town. We're passing out flyers for people to come watch these groups perform. So a lot of that, inspired me, but also re-inspired me when I went to New York. So when I saw Frosty, he's like he's at about to, I don't know what he's doing, but all of a sudden he's flipping off the stage, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's why I like him.
That's what you do. That's what I would do. You be flipping off. You were never really competitive, right? You were more of a vibe.
Well, I mean, the battles that people talk about are usually competition battles, but the actual conversation of dancing for me has always been like, we can battle, but we have to battle in everything.
Yeah.
And every time I see you, I'm going to battle you, because that's really the ultimate competition for me. But when it comes to like a cypher, there's no battling. It's just you're dancing. You're sharing energy. There's just an understanding of what's happening. The DJ orchestrates where we're going with it, And whether people are smiling or they're just like really locked in and have that tunnel vision, or or whatever it is, it's like they just know when to get out of your way and when to come in and play their part. And that energy right there was what I was used to. Unless you're like socially dancing with some people, or you got someone to dance stuff, but those days are over as far as that I've seen. So with these guys, I think competition kind of evolved them into the competition world. So once in a while I would see Fredo amongst his peers, and they would house and groove, and I was like, it's not the same, but they're having fun, so I would go and have fun with them,
It's like cypher etiquette, right?
But it was more like this is what we're doing. It's just us, and we just go out, we go dance places, and I was like, yeah, that's a different kind of vibe, but it's cool too.
But let's talk about Radiotron, because in '96 we knew nothing about that event, and you invited us to it. So we drive out there, and we didn't even know that you were going to enter the competition. But then later on, we saw that you were battling with Style Elements versus Renegades. And being in the audience, I think that was honestly a highlight of my breaking experience. So could you touch on that battle?
Sway from Renegades came to my place, my second place, by the lakes
in Vegas.
Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Like Sahara.
I remember that apartment.
You remember? And then the twins live over here.
Yeah.
So he came to my house just to train, I guess. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, I'm not doing anything. All I do is 12 shows a week, 6 nights, and during the, and I'd go out like at midnight. I'd just go out dancing till like 6 a.m, anywhere and everywhere. Like, let's go. What? Boom. I would just go. But he wasn't 21. So I wasn't, I mean, I had IDs, you know what I mean? So
yeah, fake IDs.
Yeah, I wouldn't say fake, so keep it real. But it's just, I knew people. I could do things. And then wake up and then go and do 2 shows.
Right.
I had my own show over at the.
That was your life in Vegas. You were doing 12 shows a week, 6 days.
Yeah, and that was normal in '95. So
wow, yeah.
So and then when he come out, just like, yo, you could come chill. Sway came out, and he just came to break, and he's like, hey, there's this thing going on, and I was like, oh yeah, where? He's like, oh, in LA, and I was like, so he told me about it. And then later, I remember Elof? He had a hip hop shop on the Strip. He had a hip hop shop, and he had some flyers, a little stack of flyers. And I was like, oh, that's what Sway was talking about. Cool. And I looked at the flyer and it said Style Elements. So then I was like, oh, wait, there's elements of style and then there's Style Elements. But I was like, maybe I don't know these guys. I don't know what's going on. I wasn't up on what was happening, because I had already I stopped breaking. Like breaking like how they're breaking.
Competing. Yeah. You stopped
or
competing.
just, I wasn't ever really competing. It was just like, it was living the lifestyle, but I wasn't like in a crew trying to compete or anything like that. I didn't even know that even existed that much. I just saw it like as like a annual event, like World Wars in the Bay Area or B-Boy Summits. Like you're not going there to compete, you're going there to cipher, collab, vibe, celebrate, interact. But these competitions were growing through what you call Radiotron. And they were like on this flyer, like this is the main guys that are gonna battle.
So Sway showed you a flyer and it said Style Elements versus Renegades.
He mentioned it and I saw the flyer in Las Vegas at Elof's shop.
Right.
And then
that's when you were like, all right, let's go to Radiotron.
Yeah, but I didn't know who Style Elements was. I didn't know if it was the Style Elements that I knew or it was just the name.
Oh, okay.
You see what I mean? That's why I wasn't planning on anything. I was just like...
Okay, so you had no idea. So we pull up because you rolled with me and my brothers.
Yeah, I rode with you.
And that was the main event.
Yeah, so we drove from Las Vegas.
Straight to the event. I remember we got there and there was already a line to get in.
Yeah.
And we pull up and shortly after the battle started. And I just see you on Style Element side.
Yeah. But even before that, if you remember, there were ciphers. Mm-hmm. And I was in the ciphers.
Yeah, you were getting down. Yeah.
Because I didn't know anything about when that was happening.
Right.
So I was just out there dancing, and I was, it was, what was the atmosphere like? The heat.
Humid. Everyone was slipping. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just like, and I was like, I need some more shirts. I need more clothes. Because I was sweating. I was just dancing So, and then later, the groups that were, I guess, battling walked in. They're like, hey, what's up? And I was like, oh.
But didn't you grow up with them? Didn't you grow up with the Ramon?
It wasn't that. It was they're in different groups.
Okay.
I didn't know them as Style Elements, as the squad, the monster squad.
Okay. But you knew everyone individually already. You
already knew
they were
One.
You already knew Crumbs and Ramon.
Ramon's from the Half Heads. Crumbs from the Misfits.
Oh, so they weren't even...
Super Dave's from Cardboard Kids. I think Poe one was from Floor Rockers from San Jose.
Weren't you telling me that originally you were going to...
They're just from different crews.
So you were originally supposed to battle with Renegades?
Originally, you were supposed in 95 Radiotron.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because what happened was there was a 3-on-3 final type thing. And... they were there, and it was 3 breakers versus Jazzy J and Wicked. Mm-hmm. And they had another guy that was more of a houser dancer type. He has some breaking, but like I said, they can speak on it way better than I can. But this is exactly what I remember. They're like, "Oh man, if you guys need another breaker, we should get down." I don't know who mentioned it, but I was like, I can't do it because I'm not really in your crew. You know what I mean?
Okay. So you didn't battle with them in 95.
So that didn't happen, but the idea was in my head. Like this group, if I entered it with Renegades against Style Elements, the idea was in my head, but it wasn't, it never happened.
So how did it happen where you ended up jumping in the battle with Style Elements?
Well, that's the thing. Even Asia One was like, yo, you're not really in the crew, Style Elements crew. You can't really just show up and do that. And I was like, you're Asia One. I was like, you make sense. Like, that makes sense. But for whatever reason, we ended up battling it. It just kind of like, all right, whatever.
So they were cool with you jumping in.
Well, here's the thing. We're going right back to Vegas. I wasn't even thinking politically. I'm like, I don't even break like this, guys. Like, I don't enter competitions. Yeah. Like, this is like...
But you stole the show.
I live in Vegas. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
You stole the show, and I remember afterwards, we ended up coming home with a trophy.
Yes.
So how did that happen?
Well, okay, so Ronnie is sitting next to the trophy. And we're driving back to Vegas, and you're happy. Your smile was like, this is 1996, Ronnie.
Yeah, that's wild. We come home with a Radiotron
kids,
trophy.
yeah, come back with a
But
trophy.
I was just kind of confused
Okay, well,
at first. I was just
explain
like,
it.
wait, how do we get this trophy?
I'll explain
But
that.
I also remember right before we left, something happened outside where, that was wild.
Yeah, I mean, they could explain it. All I remember is flipping in the sidewalk and everybody's looking for what's going on. And it's like a lot of energy outside. I don't know what happened. But the main thing about the trophy was like the production team was like, yo, I saw the Radiotron video in Vegas. And I was like, yeah, they're selling units all over the world. So people are hitting me up in Vegas that want to fly me all over the world. And I'm like, how? They're like, because we're buying your videos and we're buying units of them, like hundreds and hundreds. And I'm like, yeah, well, I didn't get what. And then I was like, well, all, the business is business. This is America. Like, I'm thinking like, well, all right, well, what else is going to come out? The Radiotron trophy or the Radiotron video or the Radiotron, series, So I was like, well, I gotta talk to the production, let them know. They're like, well, bring back the trophy. I was like, well, edit me out the video or let's talk to my legal. This is 1996 now because they did it in 95. Now 96 is a whole nother story. And they're like, we can't edit you out the video. And I'm like, well, you can't have the trophy back. So this had nothing to do with those crews, all that stuff. This is a whole nother thing.
Wow.
So they're like, oh man, well maybe we could invite him and kind of like get him to like go with us or like with Air Force to Europe and this and that. Right. And I was like, I'll go with you guys, no problem. This is like 97. I go to Japan, tribal tour Japan, 97. Then I go to UK, Folkestone, 97, and I'm on the mic and doing the whole thing. And then I think Air Force, like, we got DJ Hayes, Hamburger Helper from I think it's K-Day or from, he was a producer, DJ. He was with us. So the whole point was like, I'm moving, but I'm not folding. I'm doing things, but I'm not folding. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna, like, we gotta talk about this. When you change the subject, then it's just automatic no, But when we follow through with business, then, I'm in Vegas. I got bills, I got taxes, I got a whole life out there. I got 2 cars, I have things going on, and they're like, yeah, but we just like filming and we're just exposing you. The freshest kid's another thing. No, I didn't get paid for that, So, and this is a 96.
So you just feel like there's a lot
bit different.
A lot of exploitation back
it's
then.
It's just when you have bills, like you start thinking a little different. You don't just like, oh yeah, whatever. You kind of like start thinking along the lines of like, well, if I'm an artist, what do I get?
So this was during the era where you
how do I live this, or how do I survive this, or how do I invest in myself? How do I,
When did you start hosting events? Because I know that ended up kind of shifting.
Yeah, well, when we're opening up for example, Ice Cube, and he's doing a full-on concert with Mad Circle, that's Dub C. They formed a group called West Side Connection. Okay, they're who's opening up is Del the Funky Homo Sapien and Coolio. So. And then we're opening up before that. See what I mean? So I'm hosting, emceeing, dancing, everything. This goes back to the 80s leading up to concerts. So when you talk about when was your first rap battle or DJ battle or open mic, like that goes way before breaking.
Oh, wow. So you were already hosting before you were even breaking.
Correct.
And rapping too.
Of course, yes.
Wow.
So that's what I'm saying to you. Like, that's why if you understand, like, I didn't start in 95 breaking or hosting or competing. Like when you go back from 83, 84, 85 to 95, that's 10 years to even get to that level. And everything else in between would interrupt the energy, like the PBS video from Mop Tops, from Peekaboo, China Boy and Buddha stretch, and that starts inspiring people in the community, you know, and then people are like, yo, that's not good. You got to dance like this. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's that video, the PBS special. I understand that. Now a new trend of dancers are coming out, and they call themselves housers. And I'm like, well, that's not the same thing as 86, 87 dancing that we did. Do you see what I mean? So
you're saying that certain people try to coin it, and you guys were already doing it.
Not that. I'm saying that there was trendy dances that came every 2 to 3 years that created dance crews, rebel crews, party crews. And if you're not up on anything that I'm saying, you're thinking like hip hop breaking, but you're just thinking really simple. So those questions don't pertain to like everything that was going on. You know what I mean? And because I was part of a lot of things going on, you know, like a lot of the other elements, I was instrumental in those, hosting, emceeing, throwing parties, making flyers, you know, promoting events from the 80s with my brothers as a DJ company as well. You see what I mean? So that's what I say, when we skip and we just say, low, freestyle session, that was my first time ever hosting an event in 2000. That's not the truth.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people don't know this because it wasn't documented, right?
No, correct. So you're only asking what you think.
What people see. Yeah. Or people could YouTube.
Yeah, but even these videos, like I said, when people are trending a certain way, this has been pre-YouTube. They're trending a certain way. There's always someone filming, and then you'll see like, oh, Ivan's right there. And you might see me like do the Running Man. They'd be like, oh, he was a MC Hammer dancer. Because I'm doing the Running Man. So they're like, oh, that's what he was doing. He was trying to do that. He didn't even break yet. And I'm like, that's your narrative. You just piggybacked and you said Ivan was trying to find a style. Where like 2 weekends later, you'll see me performing with a whole nother energy and be like, this can't be in the same year. And it literally is. It's just like certain people got certain videos to tell their story, and then other people have legacy and chapters and layers and living 3 lifetimes in one, and people can't really figure them out. They're kind of trying to put them in a box. And if you grew up around me and my brothers and my family, you would totally understand that. Like, okay, hip hop is this, rap is that, MCing, you know, and like Kara says, you know, rap is something you do, hip hop something you live, and some people only live hip hop but don't have family values, and some people are too hood to actually get along with family, even their own family. So hip hop becomes their family.
Yeah.
And then it's really a lot of like levels of conversation, and that's why I said like when we talk about hosting, MCing, hear my mom host, and then seeing my dad host.
Wow.
And then if he's not hosting, one of his band members is hosting, you know, and he's busy playing another instrument or next man up. I mean, all of that stuff inspired me, you know. So there's a lot of conversation there, Ronnie.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, with hip hop, modern day hip hop, and it kind of being disconnected from the breaking culture, what do you think about just the climate of breaking now in today's generation?
Oh, I think it's great.
Yeah, you were at the Olympics. How was that experience?
Celebrate.
You were all over the TV screen, by the way.
I was loving every
It looked like you were about
moment.
to jump over the rail during one of the battles.
About it. Well, they had to pull me back a couple of times. Security, like they warned me like 10 times. Don't celebrate. Like sit down. You can't be this is not like soccer. I'm like,
what?
I'm looking at the security like, hold on. And they're like warning me, like, you can't actually, like, you just got to sit there.
What? That's wild.
You know, and I was like, yeah, well.
So they didn't want anyone from the audience to.
I mean, you're listening to music.
Exactly.
The DJ's playing for a reason. The competitors are there to compete. There's energy bouncing back and forth.
That's cool, dude. Yeah.
That's why.
So what was the first breaking event that you hosted?
I don't remember
Oh,
because in the 80s, breaking was still happening. Like I said, through certain tours, everybody was breaking, but the trend was over.
let's be more specific.
Every year, yeah.
Your event that you enjoyed hosting the most. A specific event.
Oh,
Most memorable breaking event.
yeah, that one's easy.
Yeah.
But the main thing is freestyle sessions, the
Okay.
ultimate platform, clearly.
Yeah.
You know?
So you enjoy hosting freestyle sessions.
Yeah, but the memorable part
Yeah,
of
the
it.
most
You know what I
memorable
mean?
ones, yeah.
The high level competition, it varies from the BC1 energy, which I still haven't been able to host, which I would love to host. Red Bull BC1.
Lords of the Floor, you just hosted recently.
Lords of the Floor from 2001. To
Out
like
for Fame. You were hosting Out for
Out
Fame
for
when
Fame
Full
in
Force
2000.
battled Massive Monkeys.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of those.
You just
moments.
have such a unique voice too. Anytime I watch these old videos, I'm like, oh, that's Ivan
Yeah.
on the mic.
That's cool.
That
I
is cool.
love it. I mean, I think it comes from so many years of different things happening that you can't explain it in 2 hours. So it's easy to do an event and host a battle and host some formalities because you have a lot of information that you want to share and articulate and, comment and, bring to light or, shed some light on it. Some things you see and I'm like, oh, shout out to Ronnie because they're inspired by your 7 of Smoke. And every time there's a 7 of Smoke and I shout your name out and someone's like, yo, what did you mean by Ronnie?
Yeah, people don't realize that one of the very first 7 of Smokes was the one that I won in IBE.
Correct.
I think it was the second edition that ever happened from what Tyrone was telling me.
Shout out to Ronnie 7 of Smoke that we remember. The victory goes to Ronnie, Full Force crew. And I still bring that to light because that's part of my history, legacy, and that's part of the energy that people need to know or can make it interesting. Like I'm next 10 years later. I'm the next, So that's why I said some events that we talked about earlier, no one's ever seen the video. They might see me like breaking in socks. They might see me breaking with a football helmet, like whatever. They're thinking, oh, that's when he used to do that. I'm like, that's only smart. Like it's fun. It's silly. It's, it's just natural for us because we keep it young and fun. And at the same time, those aren't the moments that highlight your legacy. People are looking at Super Crew Ronnie, Full Force Ronnie, Super Walkie Ronnie, Rebel BC1 Ronnie.
Everyone
you see
knows,
what I mean? But there's so much history that I'm just like, wow.
There is a lot of history, and I feel like everyone knows Ivan, the urban action figure, but you're still a mystery. I've known you for so long, and I'm still trying to, because I'll ask you questions, and you have so many different answers. And I'm just like, wait, but you're also the type of b-boy that everyone sees around the world, and you're like a unicorn. It's like, wait, Ivan just popped up here, and he disappeared. And this just happened recently. I remember we were at a Red Bull event in Colorado, and I was on stage, and one of the production team members was like telling me that you were in the audience. Like, no, Ivan would have hit me up if he was there. And I saw you dancing in the middle of the dance floor from the stage. And then by the time I texted you to come meet us on stage, you're like, I left already. But that's typical Ivan. You pop up at events, and then you disappear. And I think that anyone that knows you personally knows that this is like your character, your personality. So do you do this on purpose, or is it just because you'll pop up out of nowhere? You won't even let people know you're there. Like in Boston, right? And Pro Breaking Tour, you literally came to the event. I was judging. I was like, yo, what's up, Ivan? All right, we'll link up later. At the end of the event, you were gone.
That's great. I love being a nobody. I love showing up, dancing, feeling, vibing, meeting new people. But when you have a grand entrance, you need a grand closing.
Whoa, that's
And unless I'm promoted to be there, or unless there is going to be some kind of spectacle,
like a featuring Ivan, right? Yeah.
There's no sense for me to be like, I have arrived. It's more like I am the vibe that I'm creating the vibe that I want to see.
Yeah.
Naturally versus trying to you know.
But I love that though, because literally just this year alone, I've seen you like 4 different times, and it was out of nowhere, and you would just come and go. You would disappear, because these were events that it was unannounced. Obviously, the
Right.
events where you were hosting, everyone knew you were there, like Red Bull Lords of the Floor. But like in Philly, you just popped up out of nowhere, chilling with Flake in the DJ booth, and then all of a sudden, boom, you're gone. It's like, all right, meet me up at dinner. All right, I'll see you there.
That's right. Well, at least I feel like we just did a tour, me and you, because we've been vibing. We get to. That's the thing. We get to sit down, break bread, catch up, and reflect. But we also get to, you know, share our gratitude, you know, and be like, yeah, we're here, you know. Even if
we're
it's
still
just,
here.
yeah, even
after
if just a
30
cup of
years.
tea or whatever. Like I'm grateful, and it keeps me like the vibe is right. The deja vu is light, and we're shining in the moment, and that happiness is eternal for me, and it's ongoing, you know. And like they say, if it feels wrong, don't stay long, okay? But it's really like a matter of show me who your friends are, and I'll know who you are.
Yeah,
you know. And I'm like, we have great relationships, because I'm into relationships, not relation trips.
Yeah.
And a lot of the energy is like, I'll see you, and if I don't, even if it's 10 years later, we pick it right back up, because
very true.
You know, the energy's simple, the vibe is right. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that.
Yeah.
You know? So.
But it's true what you were saying. You know, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So, you know, you hanging out with Steve Graham, I love that dude. You know, very inspiring. So it just shows like how much you guys have contributed to the breaking scene. Honestly, I feel like he deserves his flowers. If it wasn't for Steve Graham, I feel like low-key breaking probably wouldn't have been in the Olympics. I feel like he was a big part of that movement. What do you think?
You have to interview him.
Okay, let's go back to the Olympics. Because I know I wanted, because you were there in person, I want to know, like, how was it being in the audience, and what were some of your highlighted moments?
You know, the thing with the Olympics was a celebration for me, because I'm not in it at all. I'm not competing.
You're not coaching, you're not judging.
Not coaching,
hosting,
not judging. And
which you should have been hosting it at least.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a coach first now more than anything. As a host, it's like I have a lot to say and a lot to give, especially in those moments, but it's not part of my time. It's not my time yet. And that was easy for me to accept, because I've been there, you know, countless times. When I'm in the crowd and I'm like, you know, I'm like so happy, but I'm looking around and I'm like, I guess it's just me. I'm feeling some kind of way. And that makes me happy to express.
I saw it,
but
man.
Usually it would be on the mic.
Yeah.
Usually it would be like, oh, I get to compete. It's on. And then, you know, I'm training next level. So I'm expecting other people to, you know, handle that position. I'm expecting everything to be like next level. The sound, everything, right? And what can I do as a spectator is enjoy it. And that's what I did. I really went there with no expectation and just loving every moment of it, every word uttered, every moment, every outburst, every, you know, everything that happened was perfect. Even the you know, the reports and reviews, it's not their fault. We're not breaking it down to its, you know, very lost, you know, like, you know, micro anything. Like, we happen to be on this platform, and we should celebrate it. We should have, you know, the utmost experience, because it doesn't come every year or every week. This is what, every 4, every 8, I mean, a lot of us will be like 10 years, you know, later, like we'll be in another phase of our life. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me, I wasn't looking,
just
I wasn't
the moment, savoring those moments,
savoring
right? Was there a specific battle that you enjoyed, or breaker?
All of them.
Yeah.
Because I've been to every tier and every level of them. You know, the B girls, the B
Oh,
boys.
you watched everything.
Everything. I pay
round
attention to
robin,
everything.
yeah.
I pay attention to the detail in the body language, in the pressure, the reaction to the music, who they are, who they want to be, how do they explain it, how do they walk on, how do they walk off, what are
Yeah.
they doing to strategize, are they dominating?
So who was that dominated and that just checked all those boxes that you just mentioned right now?
Well, I think
Who's someone that embodied it? That was like, okay, this person.
Yeah, I think if you look at it that way, it's who had what and who didn't have the, you know, who had one. You gotta know one and know the other, you know. And I think that when you're on the Olympic stage, you could dance all you want, but people really want to see your skills. And if dancing is a skill, then you're the MVP of that skill. But doesn't mean that you check every other box. So was there one person I've seen people try to dance, over dance, and almost expose themselves that they don't have to try that hard? You know?
That's what you're saying.
So that's why I said I don't really have an opinion on any one specific breaker, but I do have expectations that you're stronger, faster, cleaner, more athletic than you ever been. And you're going to show up to show out, bug out, and fill it out, because that's what you're about. Let me see that. And I'm in the...
I was always just rapping.
And I'm going to celebrate you. I'm going to be like, Mama, we made it. Well, you guys made it, but I'm in the crowd like, I'm just having so much fun. Like, I was just like, it's up to you guys now to do all those things that I coach people on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's up to you guys now. Can you do it? All right. And who's telling you the truth?
Vic, our bronze medalist, actually mentioned to me that he enjoyed having you as one of his coaches.
Oh, Victor.
Yeah, Victor.
Yeah, I love Victor. Yeah.
So how was that training process? And when you were watching him battle, do you feel like he utilized any of, the advice and notes you gave him?
I feel that it was more natural for me to spend time with him no matter what we did, whether we were just sitting down, walking around, he was training, I was here, he was there. I think just being around each other, like I saw that from him, like when he was around other people, like, and I think he absorbs, like he observes and absorbs, okay? And he recognizes the situation.
He recognized
the situation for what it is. He's like, okay, if we do 4 years of training, next level. But who's here right now? Enjoy the moment, because there's everything takes time to climb. You know what I mean? You gotta read between the lines of that. So you gotta walk for you gotta crawl before you walk, right? Goo gaga before you talk. So it is a process to progress, and that's how I teach. I teach very slow.
Yeah.
So with Victor, I just spent time with him. We just laughing. Like, yo, let's go dance. He's like, what?
Yeah, we were hanging out in Boston.
So you
and the same thing happened. We went out to a club, and all of a sudden you disappear. We're like, where'd Ivan go? Is he all right? You're a ninja.
Yeah. Well, I think that's part of training, is being yourself.
Yeah.
Recovering,
authenticity.
Chilling, just being Rawthentic.
Yeah, Rawthentic. You be making up your own words. Rawthentic. I've never heard that.
It's a T-shirt. So no, I mean,
when you taught at District Arts, that was everyone's favorite class.
Thank you.
And it's true what you were saying, because I know this is what you do in your academy, right?
Yeah.
You have to have, especially when you're younger, that you want them to enjoy the class.
You have to.
Yeah.
Like, you gotta make it fun.
Yeah.
Because that's
and
what
especially when they're
young.
Younger too. Crawl, walk, run, and eventually you'll be able to fly.
Correct. And there's moments where you're just like, you want more, but I take it like your commitment, is one thing, but you got to be interested in what you're getting into, and you have to be a little obsessed. Like I'm staying on it. The coach will tell me when to take a break. He'll learn, evaluate, and then every student's different. So working with a group is different than working with an Olympian. An Olympian, the expectation's so high. Like, I think I saw Victor like a week before the Olympics or something. So I'm like, well, let's have some fun. But I didn't mean, hold on. I didn't mean like, don't train or anything. I was just like, what can I teach you? And I mean, everything's process.
Yeah.
You have to understand it. You know, you can't just like pick and choose what you want from your coach. You have to literally like study it, observe it, speak it, say it, think it, feel it, visualize it. And if you don't have the time to go through that process, then it's spend time with with good energy. You know what I mean? With a good company, break bread, hang out. And I think that was the most impactful thing that a coach can do is just be yourself.
And I think what I saw him, or when I saw him compete, if there's anything that I saw from him that you might have taught him, was his conviction and his stage presence, which is what you're amazing at. Because normally when Vic breaks, technically he's amazing, but he makes his moves look too easy, right? But then at the Olympics, anytime he would hit a move, he would, like he was Captain America. You know, I was like, did he get that from Ivan? He had the presence, and it was honestly the same presence that you had at Radiotron in 1996.
That's beautiful. Yeah, because I remember dancing with him, and I think that's what I think. If I taught him anything, which I didn't teach him anything, he got himself to that level. But you could imagine how much fun we're having.
Yeah.
Like we're all
we were
three
vibing.
of us,
I
we're
think that's
dancing.
important too.
I'm just like, you know, and he's like, yeah.
He wants to, the groove.
Yeah, and I think that's contagious.
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah, so I mean, you have some good questions.
Yeah, but you need to give me specific answers. I'll ask Ivan the question, and it's just like,
well,
a medal or a belt.
Oh, a medal.
A medal.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah, gold only.
Gold medal.
Only.
Favorite crew. Favorite breaking crew.
Full Force.
We go way back.
Full Force crew, the greatest of all time.
Oh man. Hey, you're gonna be hosting our 30-year anniversary. And that's also the anniversary of when we first met you. Isn't that wild?
That's right.
We met you the first year that we started the crew.
30 years.
Full circle.
Yeah.
All right, so any last words of inspiration?
Yeah, just keep dancing.
That's it.
That's it. Have fun.
Have fun.
Enjoy the vibe.
I love it, man.
Yeah. And do what you feel, not what you can.
You were never part of a crew, but I always felt like you were, a honorary member of our crew. You know, it's like, yo, Ivan, he
Full Force.
always showing love, always, man.
Yeah, we just rolled.
That's why we loved you, bro.
Good times, man.
Hell yeah.
Good times.
Thank you, Ivan.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
See, that's a good coach right there, boy.
Keep dancing. Just recognize Rawthentic. Full Force on the break. Make no mistake.
Thank y'all for tuning in to District Talks. Do not forget to subscribe to our District Arts YouTube channel and follow us wherever you listen to podcasts. Peace. Look, the same way your kids look at us is the same way we looked at you growing up. We saw everything you were doing. You performed with us, so that gave us the confidence to do the same.